And it's time right now to get to the business news with Nona Peltier. Hi, Nona. Fisher & Paykel, okay, they have surprised the market with a better than expected result. So what's cooking there?
Interesting. So this is a company that gave us 3 upgrades in their profit outlook over the past year to the end of March. That's when their year ended. And each time it was stronger than the last time. They were doing quite well. And this was even before the pandemic started. And now the company delivered a result that was even more than the market was expecting, an increase of 37% to $287.3 million. Now, that was probably good enough for the market to be happy. But on top of that, the company said that in the first quarter of this financial year, so this is just ending June 30, which is tomorrow, the company's sales to hospitals is up 300%, and that they have had to increase their manufacturing, sort of basically squeezing 3 years into one, if you can imagine. That's how much demand there is for their product, because it's been found to be quite an effective treatment for people suffering from COVID-19. So this is an OptiFlow product they've had for some time, but it's a nasal therapy rather than sort of an invasive one, so to speak, and it's been quite successful. Anyways, it's put a great deal of pressure on the company's staff. So I was speaking with the chief executive, Lewis Graydon, a little earlier, and this is what he had to say about how they're treating their staff in response.
In terms of manufacturing output anyway, we're trying to jam, 2 or 3 or 4 years worth of growth into 12 months. And, that does put a bit of extra stress on some of our people. So we've done a couple of things. We provided additional leave to our people. We allowed them to take whatever additional leave they felt they deserved or they needed for all the efforts that they'd put in, especially over that February, March, April period. For our manufacturing people, during lockdown, we provided food boxes from the Eat My Lunch people so that they wouldn't need to visit supermarkets and things like that. And then the other thing we've done for all our staff is we have a profit-sharing bonus that's normally 2.75% of after-tax profit, and we share that around all of our people. And this year, our directors, to recognise all those efforts and what all of our people have achieved, our directors doubled that profit-sharing bonus.
And that's the chief executive of Fisher & Paykel Healthcare, Lewis Graydon. So, they've put their staff
on. It's the upside, isn't it? It's the upside of COVID-19. You don't hear from a lot of businesses necessarily that are benefiting. Obviously, perhaps one would be the grocery industry, and then this is another.
Absolutely. Now, this really has shown that there is a silver lining for some companies. And, it's great for this company because this is a real successful New Zealand company. And it delivers to their shareholders not just growth, but also profitability, and over many, many, many years. And the demand for their product, which is quite interesting. So this OptiFlow product, currently they have 4 million patients being treated with it. The market they thought initially was 30 million. Now the market has increased to 50 million. This is providing growth for this company over the next decade. So it's quite substantial. They're looking at even, expanding their manufacturing buildings. So they just finished the 4th building. Now they're looking at perhaps having to build another one. So really great story for New Zealand companies.
But in very strange
times. Strange times.
So more people found work last month, but what's the flip side to this story,
Nona?
So
we were talking about this last month, right? Yep. Okay, so in April we had about more than 1,000 people a day losing their job. Now, I just better get my numbers. Here they are. Oh, yes, right in front of me. So all industries last month, in April, there was 37,508 jobs lost. This last month, this is May, there were 17,022 jobs gained. An increase, a 0.8% increase. So that doesn't sound like a lot, but that is actually 17,000 jobs that had, been recovered. Now, the only thing about that is that the services industry, which is really the driver of our economic growth, that's not recovered just as much. So that's only up about 0.5%. There's only, another 8,000, 9,000 jobs compared with 29,000 job losses the month before.
So where have all these jobs come from? What sector?
Actually, it's interesting. A lot of them has been, the increase has been in the primary industries, and also we've seen some increases there in the manufacturing.
Now, so food food industries where
Yeah.
there's been a demand.
And also other kinds of, nuts and bolts types of companies. Well, Fisher and Paykel for one would be one, right? Because
Yep.
they're a manufacturing company. And so, overall though, but it wasn't great news for everybody. And the data shows that the young workers, those are people between the ages of 15 and 24, and women have had the weakest return to work. So it's not across the board. And we really are a little bit concerned because we can imagine that that some of these jobs, might be covered by the wage subsidy. And so, look, there's a lot of unknowns over this.
Until that second round finishes in around about September.
I'd say so.
Okay, so what are the market numbers telling us today?
Well, Fisher & Paykel certainly helped the market because its share price rose 5%. And that helped our overall market rise about, more than 1%, 1.1 about, 123 points up to 11,253. Now, that compares with Australia, which was down 2.1% just about 5 o'clock. And over Asia, there's really sort of a bit of a darkish cloud there, whereas people are starting to think maybe this COVID pandemic isn't going to ease up anytime soon. So that's kind of dashed some of the outlook that people had about the economic recovery. Never mind, though, our dollar is steady at 64.4 US cents, 93.5 cents Australian, and 51.8 British pence.
Thanks, Nona. Nona Pelletier with our business update.